Hello cookies, it's Siri, I'm back, and today's story time is actually really fun because it is a really fun memory of mine, even though there were some things that were not so good. And I got to meet Jared Leto, and it's not even like, oh, I saw him from a distance, but I met him because I was actually working for him and his band. So this happened when I was studying filmmaking in Singapore. Some of you as well have asked me what my education was prior to doing YouTube and to moving to Sweden and studying makeup, because I also have a makeup degree, I guess, that is called Master Makeup Artist and Master Hairstylist. Even though I suck at hair, I always say this, I suck at hair. People think I'm joking and they laugh, but if you've seen my videos and you just know me, I really suck at hair and I really don't enjoy it. I love seeing people that make amazing hairstyles, you know, the equivalent of face off, but for hair. I haven't seen it in real, but I've seen photos of those kind of events where you have crazy hair competitions and people put boats and jungles and constructions on people's heads. I think it's just so beautiful and gorgeous and amazing, but I just can't do that. I really suck at that. So yeah, but I'm technically a master hairstylist and master makeup artist, but the hair part is just not quite there. But before that, I was studying filmmaking for 3 years in Singapore, and that was an amazing experience all in one. There were some things that were not so good, but in general it was a really great thing for me. I was really happy to move to Singapore from Madagascar and to study film, because studying film is really fun. Between the first year and the second year at film school, you have to do an internship, and it has to be a minimum amount of days. I can't remember how many days, but it can't be just like, oh, 1 day or 2 days or 3 days or a week. It has to be a pretty long internship, and you have to write about it. And then the people you worked with or worked for have to write a report about you, submit it to the school separately, so you don't actually get to read what they said. And then as well, you have to write a report and submit it, and the teachers have to say, okay, that was good or that was not good. If you don't complete your internship, you don't go to the second year. So looking for an internship was really hard for me, because many things go through contacts in Singapore and even in Sweden actually. I guess more so in Sweden than in Singapore, but still it's good in Singapore if you know people, and I didn't know that many people. I was just there for a year. Before I start this video, let me do a little bit of self-promotion. So basically now I'm working as a freelance social media manager. So if you'd like to hire me, please contact me on my email, iriemry@gmail.com. I realized that I really enjoy growing social media accounts. I think it's really fun, and even though I personally stopped updating and uploading much on my account, I see that I really enjoy working with Instagram accounts and just the interaction and just how to market the accounts and how to make them look really nice for businesses. So if you're a business and if you don't have a social media manager, I am your woman. You can always just drop me an email and we can talk about it, because I definitely can help you on that. I got one internship at one of the most famous production houses in Singapore, but I left it after a few weeks because they asked me to do something illegal. So in the end I left and I joined another company a few weeks later. A few weeks in working for that company, I was working under the art design, production design team. And you know, the production design is the team that is taking care of sets, painting, of how basically the set looks like, and decorating. And that was a lot of fun, taking care of the clothes, of the hair, the wigs. It was just really a lot of fun, and I learned so much. And we did commercials, we did shows, we did so many things, and I got to paint, I got to build furniture, I got to build fake trees, as in real fake trees. It was just so many things. And a few weeks in, there was a job that came directly from MTV Asia. The whole team got very excited, and my boss and my colleagues were talking about it all the time. And I honestly thought, oh my god, I really just want to do it as well. I want to participate, but I wasn't sure whether they would allow me to do much things, since I was just an intern and I was also the youngest and I didn't have much experience. Of course, I had my experience from school and I had my experience from the previous internship and from the few weeks that I was working with them. But then again, I thought, okay, the customer now is MTV Asia. Will they put me in the team that would work on it? Will they not put me? But my boss decided to include me, and I was very, 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 very happy. The gig was the MTV World Stage in Malaysia, and I was so big. I thought MTV World Stage Malaysia from MTV Asia, and I get to work for them under the company that I was an intern at. So it was really just so crazy. And when I told that to my classmates and to my teachers were like, what? Oh my God, that's crazy. That's so cool. And I also thought, yeah, that's so cool. And I told that to all the people I knew back then. The one thing that I'm very proud of and that I always bring up when I go to job interviews or when I send application for jobs is that I was in charge of buying the LED lights that the guests would pin on their clothes and then the masks that the guests would wear. And that was so big because all the guests were supposed to have those goodies. And my boss basically told me, okay, Iri, so you have the budget. This is the money that we have. And I give you the task of buying those. Find them wherever you want, if it's in China, if it's in America, but we need 3,000 lights and 3,000 masks. Do you think you can fix that? And when she told that to me, I thought she was joking. I thought, I'm just an intern, I'm super young, I definitely can. In those kind of situations, I get both panicked and excited because I love challenges, but at the same time I thought, wait, that's big and it's gonna be a lot of money, it's gonna be a big responsibility. Where am I gonna find masks? Who am I gonna talk to? How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that? How am I gonna handle the whole thing? I had no clue at all, but also felt like, this is so great. This is so great. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm here. This is just so much fun. It's a lot of responsibility. And if I flop, it's going to be a complete disaster. Basically, we only had 10 days or even just less than 10 days actually to fix everything before we had to fly to Malaysia. So I was really, really stressed. But at the same time, I was really happy. Prosit! That was Yokai sneezing, but I was really happy at the same time for the challenge. I worked really, really hard for those few days because I had no clue what kind of masks I should get, and then I had no clue what kind of LED lights, if they would look good. And of course, if you buy thousands of pieces, they're always willing to send you samples to try. But the problem is they're like, okay, give us the description of what you need. And I had the description of what was needed more or less because I knew what I wanted in mind to have, something that the guest could pin without having to pin it. So I wanted a magnet that you could put behind your clothes so you don't have to put a hole with it. And they were all like, yeah, of course, we can send you a sample in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks. And I thought, we don't have much time for that. And I had to contact people from all over the world through all possible websites because, of course, I was trying to find the cheapest deal, but at the same time, something that was good quality. So it ended up being so that some of the items were from the US and some were from China. And when I actually finalized the deal, and believe me, it was really tough because I always had my phone on, and because of the time difference, Singapore, China, that was not that bad, but Singapore, US, and Singapore, all the other countries, I was working even in the middle of the night, talking on the phone with the suppliers and describing things, sending emails back and forth, sending emails to my boss and reporting to her because every day she was asking me, how's it going? How's it going? You know, we can't fail this, we can't fail this. Just a few days before we were supposed to fly to Malaysia, I managed to finally fix everything. I remember telling my boss, okay, I found a supplier in the US and I found another one in China. The last thing to do is just to pay. And I felt so proud, and she approved and everything went well, and it was just so great. I was really, really super proud of myself. And even up to now, I'm thinking, yeah, I did a good job for someone who had almost no clue what she was doing when she started. I managed to do it well with the paperwork and everything, like calculating the weight, the price, and you also have to bargain because when it's in bulk, you have a possibility to bargain. Of course, they will make it cheaper for you, but at the same time, if you're smart, you know that you can definitely bargain when you buy a few thousand pieces of anything. Basically, there's always a way to bargain. That's a tip from me to you, remember that. One funny thing that happened when we landed is that at the airport, at the immigration area where you go through before you go out of the airport, there were different queues. So there were queues for people from Malaysia, as in Malaysians and Malay, and then there were queues for people from like all over the world. And the people that were on the Malay side, they were always telling me, hey, come this side, come this side. Of course, in Malay, I didn't understand, but I understood what they meant by, waving and asking me to basically go there with sign language. And I found that really funny, and I tried to tell them that I wasn't Malay, but they still processed me there. And it's only when they saw my passport that they realized that I was from Madagascar. So that was kind of like a funny thing, because every time I travel to Malaysia, everybody there thinks I'm Malay. When we arrived at the hotel, I was really impressed because the hotel was really nice, and they had this paper that said welcome, and they had welcome drinks and welcome thingies and people welcoming us. And the room that I shared with my colleague was just so nice, so nice. The hotel was top, the room was top, and I felt like I was dreaming because I was just an intern. And they flew me, of course they paid for the flight ticket, and now they booked me a nice hotel, and everything was just so perfect, and I felt just so adultish. I told myself, whoa, this is actually a business trip, because I'm coming here to work, because I need to be there on set to take care of things, to take care of the props, to make sure that everything is where they're supposed to be. So I was not there to just look at the show, I was there to work, which I actually did. So it felt like, oh, my first ever business trip, and it happens to be with MTV at a nice hotel, and they paid for my flight. Not bad! That first day we didn't do much really, we just went around the place where they would have the concert. It was just an open area somewhere. It was not in KL, it was somewhere a little bit further. So there was a big area, and then they were supposed to build the stage and then to welcome all the guests and the people that were supposed to attend the concert there. So our headquarters were some houses that were on the side of the field. So there was the field, and then on the side you had some houses, and that's where all the MTV team and everybody that was working for the concert was, and that's where we were as well. By now you're probably wondering, but Iri, in your title or thumbnail, I don't know yet right now because I haven't edited this yet, so I don't know what the title will be and what the thumbnail will look like, but it will probably imply something about my crazy, really mean MTV boss. And you're like, but when is the boss happening? So now is the boss happening. The boss I'm talking about is the boss that was my direct boss. It's not a person from MTV. It was my boss that asked me to buy all the props and to take care of everything. The first thing that bothered me was that when we had the first big meeting with the whole MTV crew, as in there was the head of the MTV Asia, as in the whole MTV, I think, or like at least the second head. She was a lady and she was there, and there were so many people in a giant room that we were in one of the houses next to the field. And when she started to congratulate my boss on how the props were delivered and they were really happy with how the props looked like and things like that, my boss went on and on about how she worked really hard. She was like, yes, I realized that I didn't have such a long time, but I pulled myself together, I did what I could, I did my best, I'm glad you liked my work, I hope that you can work with me in the future, I. So now you're gonna tell me, Iri, don't be so ungrateful, you don't work because of glory or because of praise, which is true. I usually don't work for praise, even when I was working for Mac or the Body Shop or other places like that. I don't care about praise because honestly, I never really know if praise is honest or if they just want you to work harder or pull off extra hours for free. So I am a bit careful when I hear praise from coworkers or from bosses, because then I'm suspicious. I'm like, okay, you're praising me, what do you want from me? It's usually something that I'm not going to like, or they're gonna tell me something I don't like. So I don't expect praise, but at the same time I didn't like the fact that she took all the credit, and she did not even say we, because we went there as a team. There was her, there was my colleague, and there was me. The company is composed of basically a team, so she was not alone, but she always just went on about, I did this, I ordered the props, I pulled it off in such a short notice, I'm happy that you like my work. And I was sitting there looking at her thinking, well, I did everything. Basically, you didn't do anything. Honestly, she didn't do anything. And I didn't expect her to point me out, because I would have been a bit, shy and embarrassed to be standing in front of everybody and be like, yeah, I did it. But at the same time, I wish she would have said something like, yeah, with my team, we worked really hard. I feel like that would be the proper thing to say as a boss, as a team leader, to say my team. Even if you know that they were just one person taking care of the whole thing, since it's a team working all together in the end, and it's a team that was flown together to Malaysia, the correct thing to say is my team. That's how I would personally have done it. So I was a little bit annoyed at that, but I thought, I've been flown to Malaysia anyway. This is so cool. This is amazing. This is a really good opportunity. This is my first work abroad, blah, 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 blah. So I just let it go. The second incident, though, pissed me off quite a lot. The concert was supposed to be in the evening, and we were only busy towards actually late afternoon. Almost the whole day we had nothing much to do. So in the morning we were just hanging out in those houses near the fields and trying to figure out, okay, what we are supposed to do, how are we going to do it, who's going to take care of what. But in the end there was not much to do really, and we were just checking out our talkie-walkies, and it was really cool. I'll put some photos somewhere here of the whole equipment, how I looked like, and the gear that we had, and our badges, and we were just checking out our MTV crew outfits and machines and things like that. So it was just basically about chilling, talking, and doing nothing much. As we were unboxing all the props and people were taking care of things, there were lots of trash around. So since we had nothing much to do and we were basically the art and props department, my boss decided that we should clean around, and I thought, yeah, that's usually what the art department does on any set. If there's nothing to do, it's like you always try to help and try to make the work of everybody lesser if you have nothing to do. So I started to clean and helping everybody, and everybody was kind of like talking. There were lots of people from MTV, there was my colleague, there was my boss, there were lots of people in the same room. And when it came the time to basically close all the big trash bags, so there are those giant black typical trash bags, my boss said, Iri, close the trash bags now. I said, okay, of course, sure. I thought, why is she talking to me like that? She's usually kind of okay, like not overly nice, but she's usually polite, and now her tone is really dry. But I thought, okay. So since they were overflowing with lots of carton boxes and lots of plastic bags and bubble wraps and things like that, I was trying to stuff everything back in, because I could definitely not close the trash bags if they're overflowing. So since it took me quite some time to close them, my boss got really mad, and she came and she was like, what are you doing? What are you doing playing the princess now? I told you to close them, and now you're just acting like it's too low for someone like you. And I thought, huh? What? Sorry, what are you saying? She said, see, I'm doing it myself. And she started to do it herself. And she said, I am your boss, but even I don't consider myself too good to do this kind of work. Do you think you're some princess or what, not to do this? And she was yelling at me, and everybody was staring. Everybody was staring. And I was so embarrassed, because I was like, what? She was like scolding me, yelling at me, and I did not understand at all what she was saying. So basically she implied that I was too good and I was like acting picky, when I was literally pushing the trash inside with my bare hands like this to try and close the bags, but I couldn't do it as fast as she wanted, because there were so many bags and there was so much trash that was outside the bags. I asked to take a break outside to breathe. And when I was outside, there were some people that were inside from MTV that came out and said, wow, your boss is special, she's really harsh. That was not super nice of her. And I said, no, well, I don't know, maybe she's stressed. I was still trying to defend my boss because at the same time, those people were working for MTV. And back then I was hoping that afterwards, maybe I could speak directly to people that were working at MTV and get another internship in the future, or maybe get some work there when I graduated from university. So I didn't want to be that girl that bad mouths her boss. But at the same time, I was really annoyed, so I just said, yeah, well, maybe she's kind of stressed. And they were like, yeah, she's really, really nasty. And the MTV people were all coming out and telling me, are you okay? I hope you're not too embarrassed. They felt really sorry for me. So for me, that was kind of okay afterwards then, because I thought, okay, my boss acted like a really mean boss, but at the same time, everybody saw that she was being unfair, and everybody thinks she's a bitch. So I guess it's okay. I don't really mind anymore. Now, the third thing that my boss did, and this is like the worst thing that she did and that really pissed me off, is that basically after the whole event, she implied that I was a man-eater and that I was just like flirtatious with all the men and just trying to get all the men, and I was not professional because I was just trying to seduce all the men. Like I mentioned before, we didn't have anything much to do except from just cleaning around and sitting around and drinking some tea in carton boxes because there was lots of tea everywhere. For some weird reason, MTV bought lots of tea for the people working to drink. So drinking tea, sitting around, cleaning trash, and at some point there was the cameraman guy that was supposed to film the whole event. One of the cameramans, he was setting up his camera inside the room and there was nothing to do, and his camera was big and nice and fancy, and I really wanted to try it out and to see how it works because I have a big passion for cameras. And you have to remember that I was there as an intern to study filmmaking, and I was supposed to study to be a director, but I was also interested in cinematography, in cameras. I was not just supposed to be in the art department, so that was also inside my field. So when I saw the guy setting up and he said that he was going to go out for a run test, he asked me if I wanted to follow because I was asking him lots of questions when he was setting up, and my boss was around. So I asked my boss, is it okay if I go out with him, if I follow him? He has a walkie-talkie, I have a walkie-talkie. You can always contact us, also have my phone, and we're not going to be like really long outside. We're not going to be super far. We're just going to be around the field and filming the people that were already queuing, because even early in the morning there were already people that were queuing to go inside the area where the concert would be. And she said, yeah, of course, there's nothing much to do, you can go and I will contact you if there's anything. So I went out with him and I started to ask him lots of questions. We were filming around, I was practicing with the camera how to hold it, and he had many years of experience. Of course, he's working for MTV as a freelancer and he's had lots of jobs as a cameraman, a cinematographer, and I was really interested to gain his knowledge. That was the point of my internship, to learn as well. And even though we were outside, I'd say 30 minutes, 45 minutes, every 10 minutes I was always buzzing. My boss was like, hello, it's Iri, do you need me? Do you need anything? Should I go buy something on the way back? Is there anything? And she was just like, nah, it's okay, take your time, go, just enjoy yourself, it's fine. So when I went back in the room, there was still nothing happening, and I was really happy from my experience with the cameraman. And then there I saw that there were also some people setting up, and it was a group of French dudes, and they were setting up a drone to film. Thing is, I've never seen a drone in real life before that. It was a drone that looked like an airplane. It looked so fancy, it looked so super nice, and I got interested. So of course I was around them and I was asking them, I was like, hey, can you explain to me how it works? And they were speaking French, so I could speak French with them, and they were showing me how it worked. They said, we're going to do a test run outside, do you want to follow us? And I asked my boss again, I said, hey, I've never seen a drone being flown before, can I follow them? Is it okay if I follow them? And she said, yeah, of course, course, there's nothing to do. So again, I went outside and I stayed with them for 30 minutes. I was always checking with my boss. Hey, is there anything I can do? Are you guys busy? Should I come back? Is everything okay? And all the time, she was always telling me that everything was okay and that I should just take my time. At some point, I was finally needed, and as soon as I was beeped, I came straight away, and it was actually on the stage. They needed some people to carry some props on the stage and to check some things on the stage. So it was me, my boss, and my colleague basically, and we were working there. At some point, there was nothing much to do anymore, so we just all ended up taking pictures. While we were taking pictures, I realized that there, down the stage, they were setting up a 3D camera. There were many guys there setting up a huge 3D camera. I got super excited. I've never seen a 3D camera before, and I think that was actually the only time in my life I ever saw a 3D camera. So I asked my boss, I said, we have nothing much to do here anymore. We're just taking selfies, taking photos. Is it okay if I hang out with those men and check out the 3D camera? And she said, yeah, of course, you have nothing to do, just go ahead. The day after, in the morning, my boss scolded me like freaking crazy, and it went out of nowhere. I was done taking breakfast and I was getting out of the breakfast room, as in the restaurant, I guess, of the hotel, and my boss came running towards me screaming, you! I was like, me? You're so unprofessional. I can't believe how you behaved yesterday. I've never seen anyone like that. You're so ungrateful and rude and unprofessional. I can't believe it. I said, what? What did I just do? I had breakfast. I mean, that's what I was thinking, but I was just really stoned. And she was like, instead of doing your job the whole day, you were just flirting with men, chatting up some men, seducing some men, trying to smile at men and laughing and acting like a little princess, not wanting to clean and to close the bags. And you probably tried to badmouth me with the MTV people and those men. You're always with men. You know, when you're at work, you're supposed to be professional. If you want some sex, if you want to have some action with some men, work is not the place for that. And you know, she was yelling that in the hall there in front of everybody at the hotel, outside the hotel restaurant. I honestly just stared at her and I was like, I couldn't say anything because I was just so surprised. I didn't understand where that came from, what happened, what the hell she was talking about. I was just so confused. So confused, like I couldn't believe it. When we arrived back in Singapore, she scolded me again about the same things, and then I told her, I was like, you know, I'm supposed to be a film student, right? At school we're studying everything related to film, from screenwriting, script writing, to sound, to editing, to cinematography, directing, producing, everything. Basically, we even do acting, we're doing everything. So I'm supposed to study everything. And I always asked you first if it were okay that I would go out with those men to check some cameras, to check the drone, to actually learn something. This is exactly. This is exactly what I'm supposed to do here. And I always called you on the walkie-talkie every 10 minutes. Everybody saw it. I was always asking you, hey, should I come back? Do you need any help? And things like that. So I don't understand why you scolded me like that. But she just kept on going on and on and on about how I was such a man-eater. I was frivolous. I was just flirtatious. I was the most unprofessional person she has ever seen. I was also very ungrateful. She gave me such an amazing opportunity with MTV in Malaysia, and all I did was flirt with men and do nothing. And I thought, excuse me? I bought the damn props. I took care of them, being really stressed, barely sleeping at night, trying to deal with everything. You took all the credit. I always asked you if I could go out. You always said it was okay. And I never actually flirted with any of these men ever. When I got back to Singapore, I didn't give them my phone number. I didn't give them any email. I wasn't on Facebook. I never had any further contact with them. I never touched them, never hugged them. I was just talking cameras and drones. Literally, everybody could see that I was never, ever flirting. Like, what the hell? I don't even understand where that came from. And to be honest, she was the one that was unprofessional, because the first night we arrived there, she dragged me and my colleague to this bar in Kuala Lumpur, and she got really drunk and really embarrassing. When she was drunk, she tried to flirt with this old man at the bar, and she was really loud and obnoxious and everybody was staring, and my colleague and I were pretty embarrassed. I was really embarrassed because she was behaving like a teenage girl that was drunk trying to hook up with some old dude, and she's like, I don't know, in her mid 40s, late 40s or something like that. But I never said anything about that. I could have brought it up, and my colleague was there to testify that she was like that. I had pictures and videos of that evening, so I could definitely have brought that up, but I didn't, because I thought, no, I'll stay classy. And I hope you cookies enjoyed this story time. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't want to miss the upcoming videos. So we'll see you soon, cookies. Bye.